Lorne by Nathaniel Trevor. Copyright 2015. Chapter 2. Are you sure there's no other way? The lady spoke with a seriousness and stern voice. Lorne knew the tricks of the business. His brothers had taught him all too well. Worst case scenario, his cop brother would once again pull a few strings to get him out of trouble. A few tears here, a phone call there, and it's crazy how fast an accusation of driving drunk and crashing into a house can go away. I'm certain, ma'am. Your pipes will freeze if I don't repair 'em. You have to change all of them? The entire house? Yes, ma'am. Don't be worried. My work is guaranteed, continued Lorne. Guaranteed at least until I skip town, he thought to himself, giggling a little bit. Is this the best price you can give us? It's even better than what I can give you. Remember, I loved you first. The lady sighed heavily. Her husband, a man named Eric, observed in silence, patiently observing the portentous scene that was unfolding before his eyes. At long last he spoke, for the first time in the exchange. You a Boston Red Sox fan, son? He said, referring to the baseball cap Lorne was wearing. Yes, sir, I am. Who was the best Boston Red Sox batter of all times? Ted Williams, of course. You're goddamn right, son, replied Eric. He pointed at the baseball bat behind Lorne, hung proudly over the mantelpiece. Lorne got closer to observe it. It was signed by the man, the legend himself. I still remember the day he autographed it, mumbled Eric. Best day of my life. After the day I married you, of course, he said, looking at his beautiful wife. For a moment, Lorne froze. He couldn't do it. Not to those people, not to a couple of retirees hoping to enjoy the tranquility and quietness of life in their residence. He had to invent an excuse for not being able to sign the contract, to walk out, never think about that job again. Lorne had done quite a fair bit of bad things in his life, but if he hoped to finally turn his situation around, he had to change his values and... No, he had to do it. He didn't have a choice. Lorne was getting older and balder. This probably was his final chance to finally fulfill his dream. He kept looking at the baseball bat, polished to perfection, as if he was admiring the treasure in its full glory. We can trust a man who knows his baseball, honey. And he's a singer like us, you know. Betty finally nodded slowly. Did they really have a choice, after all? They had a little bit of money saved up, and all they truly wanted was a nice, cozy house to live in. In a depressed manner, almost as if she was anticipating what would happen next, she added her signature to the contract. One last thing, said Lorne. For information purposes, do you have any grandchildren around the age of 13? What does this have to do? Well, I'll give you a 10% discount per child. 15% if she has blonde hair. She? Pondered the lady, perplexed. Never mind. Let's get to work. I'll tell you what, if you sign the check now, I'll add in a song for free. The old lady shook her head a few times in disbelief. Lorne knew the routine and every step of it. His middle brother had taught him all too well. It was so easy to con people. Worst case scenario, a few tears helped stitch the seams in the scam process. In his head, he couldn't help but picture the amazing truck he was going to buy with the money. It would be white, but it would also have some black. No, some gray at the bottom. At last, the lady signed the check. Okay, so now the song. I didn't bring my guitar, but then again, I don't play guitar. The song is called Just Fix Our House, Please, said Betty, a bad feeling creeping through her body. Lorne took the check in his hands. The truck was his, and the timing was perfect. His OUI probation was coming to an end, and he would finally be able to drive again without one of those ignition machines he could never have afforded anyway. Lorne wasn't purely evil. He would refund them, of course, eventually, when he would be a famous country star who would have to tour the entire U.S. He would buy them an entire mansion full of nice and shiny things. Hell, he might even compose a song for them. Some words started to rush through his mind. I scammed her first. All he needed, all he ever truly wanted, was a way to make his dreams come true. Was it really that wrong to borrow a little bit of money on the short term to finally have a shot, and a real one at that, to finally become the man he always wanted to be? The world deserved to hear his music, and although they didn't know it, Betty and Eric were doing a massive contribution to humanity. One day angels would praise their sacrifice that allowed the country world to change forever. But for now, he needed to go. As soon as he was out of sight, he let out a powerful laugh. Sometimes life gives you a second chance, and this was his. Chapter 3. With luck, he would arrive in Nashville before dusk. He would sleep in his truck a night or two, just long enough to find a decent apartment. He gulped on the coffee he had brought from Maine, a last souvenir of a past life that he sought to leave behind him. A part of him would say he left to pursue his dream of becoming a famous country singer, but the truth is simply that he had angered too many people and caused too many problems. An OUI here and there, a few public intoxications, one or two botched jobs. Lorne had done it all, and yet every time his magical tears had gotten him scot-free. Yet the scam that he had just pulled off on a couple of retirees nonetheless would be his last. That he swore. He felt a speck of guilt, of course. With his awful credit rating, there was no way anyone was going to lend him any money, especially not for a truck. In a quick breath, he cursed his brothers. While they had absolutely nothing to do with his problem, Lorne was sure it must have been their fault one way or another. Lorne juggled the idea of him being a con artist for a few seconds, uneasy about the whole situation. Within a few seconds, however, he ended up rationalizing what he had done. Fate had forced his hand, and had he not done it, somebody else would have. After all, the media talks about elders being scammed all the time, so he had only done what would have happened sooner or later anyways. If everything worked out, he would never need to defraud anyone ever again. He would refund those retirees with interest. That he swore to himself one more time. In a way, it was kind of like a loan. He hadn't taken himself the loan that banks and all their unfairness wouldn't have given him. The exits seemed to repeat themselves as the miles kept piling up. Lorne was driving well above the limit, hoping not to get a ticket. He didn't have the money to pay for it. He already knew that wasn't going to happen anyways. On this holy night, Cod himself was watching over him, as long as he had his cap on. Bud, a big and black adult male Labrador, barked once, hungry. But if Lorne didn't have any money to feed himself, how could he feed his dog? In a way, he regretted not keeping Daisy. They could have roasted her and eaten her. Or perhaps it would have made more sense to eat Bud, as Daisy was a tiny white mixed dog with not even enough meat to feed Bud for a day. No, he couldn't do that. Not to Bud, his best friend, his partner on this magical journey. I miss my mom's chicken pot pie, complained Lorne. If only I could meet a human female that could learn how to make it. For a second, he started thinking about Daisy again, and the possibility of making dog pot pie. Barked Bud again. If only you were a hunting dog, Bud, you could catch us a rabbit. Barked his dog again, and this time Lorne knew there was something around to be found. If Lorne could sleep on the floor as he had done with the unfinished house he had left behind him when he left Maine, then surely he could eat from the floor. He wasn't asking for much, really. A few mushrooms here and there, an unfinished bottle of soda, anything would do. A small board advertised the restaurants at the next exit, and amongst them was a bar that Lorne knew typically offered free peanuts. Lorne raised his fist in the air, victorious. He would go inside and look at the menu, acting like he was winnowing through the items in the menu, all the while eating peanuts for free. Finally, my luck has turned. Good dog, Bud, said Lorne, patting his loyal friend. But as soon as he entered, Lorne noticed something even more grandiose. A karaoke machine with a group in full swing. The man singing, a tall, broad-shouldered man with a clean, flat cowboy hat, was quite proficient at it, if only slightly off-key. He trills more than he sings, thought Lorne, and yet the group was having fun. Lorne grabbed a bowl and filled it to the rim with peanuts. As soon as he was sat down, a human female handed Lorne a menu and he started perusing it. He didn't even have enough for a measly beer, even if he diluted it with his saliva. Lorne binged on the peanuts for a good 10 minutes, and the waitress, slightly annoyed, started to see straight in his game. "It's time to leave soon," he thought, perhaps by pretending to go to the bathroom. All of a sudden, a large pint appeared in front of him. "Courtesy of the man with the hat," said the waitress, now beaming. "Wow, I feel special," said Lorne. His lips touched the holy nectar, and immediately, for the first time since he had stolen the $30,000 he needed to buy his car, Lorne relaxed. He was far away now, hundreds of miles, and there was nothing these people could do. "You seem like a fella who can handle himself around a mic," said a shadow behind him. "Yeah, we can't let the girls win that easily. Why don't you come sing a song for us?" The man smiled broadly at him, and Lorne felt intimidated. It had been years since someone really tried to speak to him or made any kind of friendly gesture towards him. "The name's Craig," the man said. Lorne Armstrong." "Thank you for the beer, Craig." "Yeah, no biggies. Now you coming to sing or you want to let the girls win?" This has been chapters 2 and 3 of Lorne by Nathaniel Trevor. Hey man, you checked out Salmon's Patreon?
Dummy Data, Kelp Pill, TechRec 71, Cat G, Westmost, Michael's TCAP, Ramiro-san, M1A, TCAP Recipe, G Unit, Gram, Aerodo, and the always lovable Gooey, Salmon's Lucky 13.
And thanks to everyone who supports the channel with views and comments and buying the t-shirts. Bless you. I love you all. Hey man, we're not trying to start a revolution. We're just having fun.